Hi. So this is just kind of like an impromptu video I decided to do on a whim, because I thought it'd be interesting to just do a little kind of behind the scenes breakdown of one of my threat music tracks. Particularly, I picked out the Hanging Gardens one because I like it and a lot of people like it, so I thought it'd be fun. Yeah, so I'll just kind of go through like a little bit of my process, the things I've done in to make this thing, and yeah, this might be useful to some people if you're making your own threat music, or it might just be an interesting thing to see, I guess. So yeah, so I guess to start, something interesting about threat music is that it kind of serves a dual purpose in Rain Worlds. So you've got obviously the threat part is it needs to be intense. It needs to make dangerous scenarios feel more dangerous. But then you've also got the fact that it needs to fit the mood of the area. It needs to tie into the themes and like the general aesthetic of the place that it's playing in. So, I mean, that's pretty obvious, but like, it can sometimes kind of be at odds, and that was something that I found for this one in particular, is the Hanging Gardens is like a very like lush and pretty chill location. I mean, apart from all the dangerous things that are there, um, the actual the actual visual style of the place is very chill, very calm, and quite serene. So like that kind of clashes with threat music, you could say. So yeah, you have to get a bit creative there. So the route I went was making it intense, but still like a pleasing and harmonious sound that has a lot of like reverby, like bell kind of sounds, and it kind of sounds like something that would fit in this location. Yeah, so it's not necessarily as threatening as, say, Howling Rift or something like that, which is very oppressive and intense and dark, but it's still got that intensity. It's just not kind of as, like, overtly threatening compared to others to kind of tie into that more serene vibe of the place. So yeah, I thought I'd just go through the instruments, talk about what's going on here, and like different little tricks I've used to make it kind of fit the Rainworld style. So I guess first we've got the kick, and yeah, the kick is like the standard thing for a Rainworld threat. Like 90% of the vanilla ones have a very similar kick pattern and kick sound. It's kind of like a heartbeat almost. It's just this kind of regular pulsing sound that's on the beat and just drives the song forward. And it's often like the first layer that you hear when danger comes nearby. Not much to say there. I do actually. I've tried to stop doing this and actually use different samples, but for a few of these songs, I have just stolen the kick sounds directly from the game. So this is just the Sky Islands kick and the Outskirts kick layered on top of each other, and then EQ'd a bit. There's not much else going on there. And then we got the hats, which is, there's not really that much to say for the hats. I do have this like little, as you can hear there, like that little reversed bit, just to make them a bit more interesting, but otherwise it's just, yeah, that little bit. Otherwise it's pretty basic. It's just like a hat sample EQ'd and with a little bit of reverb, and here we have something that is very useful for making Rainworld percussion for like threat music and just the music in general. It is downsampling, which thanks Indicus for revealing the secret to me. In a lot of the threat music, you hear a lot of downsampling. It just kind of, because see, if I turn this on and off, you'll be able to hear. So that's like more of like what the original sample sounds like. But then when you add this, it's pretty subtle, but it kind of like darkens it a bit, and it adds like a little bit of like digital crunch to the higher frequencies of the sound. And really like just gives it that kind of digital texture that is really prevalent in the Rainworld soundtrack. Okay, so then we have the snare. This is like, what is this? I think this is just a sample, a default FL sample that I started with here. And you can see I have the lo-fi, also known as downsampling effect. So for that you can use the effector thing. That's like one of the easiest, most straightforward ways to apply the downsampling, is just to use the lo-fi module on effector. But there's also another plugin I have called Crush by Tritic, which has a nice downsampling effect. It also does nice bit crushing as well. It's, yeah, pretty similar. But that's free, and I recommend it. Yeah, and another thing I've got going on here, which is something I like to do a bit with the percussion that's in a few of my threat themes, but you got this little automation here of the pitch, and it just makes as you can hear here, it just shifts the pitch up very slightly, not even like a full semitone, but just nudges it up slightly, and it kind of gives it a bit more variation, because this is just playing the exact same sound over and over. So yeah, that's a good way to like make percussion parts just that little bit more interesting and have a bit more flavor, is to give them some automation that like changes them over time. So it's not just like, you know, that type thing. It gets a bit grating if you've got the same sound playing constantly. Yep, so then the pads. This is kind of like something that I've done in a few of my threat themes, but is not particularly common in the vanilla ones. But I feel like it adds a really nice bit of depth to a track that can otherwise have a lot of like sharp and short notes, is to have this kind of sustained note, like a pad that is like very reverberant and open. And especially with the Hanging Gardens one, it gives it that kind of almost ethereal, gentle sound to it, which contrasts with everything else in it as well. It helps kind of fill out the space in the threat theme, if that's something you want in a threat theme. And for this one, this is just a modified preset from the Podolsky synth, which is one of my go-tos for everything, including Rainworld threat music. It's got some really gorgeous presets, and it's just a nice, straightforward synth to use. Yeah. So that's that. Do I have anything else going on here? Not really, except I'm using a bit of delay and OTT, which is, it just kind of makes sounds hit harder. It's like a really intense compressor. Good for, yeah, so you can see it just gives it a bit more impact. And it's almost like a distortion. It can be a bit much sometimes, but it can also be really good for getting that kind of distorted sound. And then the bass is a Harmer something or other. I don't remember if this is a preset or something I just made from scratch. But yeah, it's a pretty basic, like, just mid-frequency kind of thing. It's got this bit of pluck, which just kind of makes it a bit twangier. And then it's got a bit of vibrato on it, which gives it a bit of wiggle, so to speak. And then the Arps, this is, I think I started with a modified, yeah, you can see here, this was originally the masked chime Arps, and yeah, so the masked threat theme was the basis for this sound. You'll be able to hear a similar sound in the Arps, but yeah, this one's modified to be a bit different. But yeah, it's using like the same bass of the swinging pipes preset from Harmer. It's a nice sound, and then it's kind of got a bit of, yeah, you can see Harmer has like an inbuilt distortion thing, so you can see it really gives it that kind of harsh sound. And then another thing that kind of is great for making this almost kind of like bell-like chimey sound in Harmer is to boost the prism amount, which I'll be honest, I don't really know what prism is exactly. It offsets the frequencies in some way, but it kind of like makes sounds a bit more kind of harsh and discordant sounding. So you can see this sounds very synthesized when it's turned off. But as I turn this up, it kind of gives it that more like harsh, clangy sound, I guess. But yeah, that's a nice way to do that in Harmer. And then we've got the lead. This is just like a pretty standard Rainworld lead. It's also based in Harmer. This sound is a pretty distinct one. You can recognize that the similar kind of thing as the Outskirts Slugcat singing instrument, as people have called it. But yeah, it's kind of a saw wave that has a pretty low frequency and like high resonance. Yeah, so it's like a kind of saw wave sound, and then you turn the frequency down and the resonance up, and then you get this kind of tone. And then a big part of this kind of distinct sound that you get with the lead is, I mean, you can see it sounds pretty plain right now, but if I switch back to the main version, you can actually hear... Wait, hold on. There we go. So you can see here I have automation of the portamento time, the vibrato depth, and the vibrato speed, these three here. And this is a big part of giving it that kind of character that is that almost like vocal kind of synth sound, is automating the length of like the slides. So if you've just got like a static slide length, then it can sound very, very static, very like synthesized. But having it so like the different like slide values, and also automating like so the vibrato kind of comes in and out. And you can see here I've got a bit where if I play this part in particular, you'll be able to hear that the vibrato comes in and out in depth and also in speed, so you can kind of hear it. It's like a really kind of smooth, like wobbling sound as it goes through these final notes of this bar. So you can see here. So it's really wibbly right at the end. And that just kind of gives it that kind of more organic character that you really want for that kind of sound. And then for this one, I've actually got something pretty unique with having two leads. It's like a counter melody, basically. So I kind of wanted to design this. I chose to do this because of the setting, because I thought it would be a nice way to kind of give it that almost that kind of beautiful, serene sound, and yeah. And I also wanted it to be so they sound pleasant with and without other one playing. So they kind of harmonize together, but they also sound like complete melodies on their own, because Rain Will Threat music's completely dynamic, and you might end up into a situation where only this one's playing, or only this one's playing. And then the final instrument is just kind of like an extra flavor one that is these chimes. And this is just done with a sample that has like a flanger on it, and RTT gives it a bit more crunch. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, so that's about it for this. I hope you enjoy, I hope you find something useful from it. And yeah, thanks for watching.